Hello, everyone. It's another gorgeous evening, and I'm grateful for it. It was a little muggier today than it has been in the last couple of days, but here in South Texas, where I live, it doesn't matter how hot it gets. In the evenings, when the sun starts to go down, like it's kind of going down right now, I call them the magical hours. The birds start singing. The breeze comes through. A breeze that's just constant, doesn't go away, and the humidity kind of drops off, and it stays like that until about maybe it starts at sunset, or before sunset, and it stays like that until maybe 9 o'clock in the evening, and they're just about 3 hours there that are just absolutely magical. Doesn't matter how hot it gets, it doesn't matter how muggy it is during the day. You can always count on those days to at the end of them to bring magic. That's actually, I believe that's what keeps people here in South Texas able. That's what keeps it a hospitable place to be able to actually live here, because no matter how bad it gets during the day or how inhospitable it gets during the day, you have those hours that are just absolutely golden, and that's just the beauty of our God. That's another awesome demonstration of who He is to me. Everything He's worked out, everything He's done, every aspect of His creation, even in the fallen imperfection of everything, His perfection shines. His intention shines. His love for us shines. His mercy for us shines. Those are all attributes and aspects of who Jesus Christ is. One of my favorite books in the Bible, I know I've shared this with you guys before, is Ecclesiastes. It's actually the book in the Bible that got me interested, that opened my eyes to the Word of God, and eventually opened my heart to the Word of God once I started getting to know who God was and exactly what His Word is, and why He put the effort into leaving it for us. The Word of God is actually it's actually Christ. From the very beginning to the very end, it's a depiction of Christ, how He came to be, how we came to be, how creation came to be, and where we dropped the ball, where we as humans goofed up, and how the grace, the love, and the mercy of God, even though we disobeyed and we continue to disobey, how it still shines all around us in everything that we do, and especially through Jesus Christ, especially through His Word. There is no greater demonstration of love than Jesus Christ. He is love. He is the epitome of love. He is love in spirit. He is love incarnate. He is love as God. He's no longer here in the flesh, but He's coming back. He's coming back, and to be up to speed on who He is, what He asks from us, and what His Word says is, I repeat these words till I'm blue in the face, but it's the most important endeavor that we can embark on. The Lord has designed my life in such a way to where He knew that I had to be put in certain positions. He knew that I had to go through certain trials and literally stay inside of certain furnaces in order for me to realize who He is, and to realize that He's always been there tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, here I am. But I would never listen. I never paid attention. I never cared. It was always about me, the way I wanted to do things, what I thought about what I should do with my life and how I wanted to do it. And he's always been telling me, hey, you know what? Turn around and look at me. I'm right here. I love you. I created you. I know what you need. I know how to point you in the direction to fulfill your destiny that I have for you. And yeah, it's just looking back, every single detail of my life has been one big God grace. And I can even tell the difference in this is gonna sound a little not a little superficial maybe, but well, it is superficial. But I can even tell a difference in the way that I look. Uh, Whenever I look at myself in the mirror, whenever I don't know, it's God. It's God, and He's beautiful. He's absolutely beautiful. But I want to start out reading some of Ecclesiastes for some of you that have not. Uh, I'll read. I'll read for a few chapters, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up on my next video where I left off. Because for those of you that have not read Ecclesiastes, it is, to me, the most beautiful book in the Bible. For me personally, it is written by King Solomon, who was the child of King David, and King Solomon's life, who wrote Ecclesiastes, came about because King David had an affair with Bathsheba, which Bathsheba was the wife, one of his best soldiers and friends, and that's how King Solomon came about from David having an affair with Bathsheba, a married woman to one of his best friends, and then King David went on to have Bathsheba's husband murdered, killed on the front lines because he was actually a soldier, one of David's soldiers, King David's soldiers. And from all that mess, right, was born what is to me one of the most eye-opening, definitely the wisest and most beautiful words ever written and put to paper and spirit. And I would like to share it with you guys. Once again, it's how I got to know Christ. It was my doorway to Christ. Without further ado, I'm gonna begin in chapter 1, verse 1. I'm personally reading from the NLT version of the Bible. I know there are some people that are hardcore staunch King James, and I like the King James version. This is just a version that works for me. And if there are any things that so far I've found that it is an extremely good version. It was very well thought out, very well translated, very well put together. It's what works for me. So if that's the version that I'm going to be reading out of, the NLT. Ecclesiastes. Let's see. Let me stop. Yeah. Okay. Ecclesiastes. Forgive my reading glasses. I know they may look a little different, but I need to see them to read and not to go too slow looking at the words. These are the words of the teacher, King David's son, who ruled in Jerusalem. King David's son, King Solomon, goes on to say, everything is meaningless. Meaningless, says the teacher, completely meaningless. What do people get for all their hard work under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises and the sun sets, then hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south and then turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. Then the waters return again to the rivers and flow out again to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are never content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly brand new. Sometimes some people say, here is something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past, and in future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. I, the teacher, was king of Israel, and I lived in Jerusalem. I devoted myself to search for understanding and to explore by wisdom everything being done under heaven. I soon discovered that God has dealt a tragic existence to the human race. I observed everything going on under the sun, and really it is all meaningless, like the chasing of the wind. What is wrong cannot be made right, what is missing cannot be recovered. I said to myself, look, I am wiser than any king who ruled in Jerusalem before me. I have greater wisdom and knowledge than any of them. So I set out to learn everything from wisdom to madness to folly. But I learned firsthand that pursuing all this is like chasing the wind. The greater my wisdom, the greater my grief. I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. But I found that this too was meaningless. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. In this way, I tried to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world. Those are some pretty powerful words. In other words, he's saying that you're talking about the richest man, the wisest man, the most powerful man to ever walk the face of this earth, other than Jesus Christ. I'm not comparing him to Christ, but this man had so much influence. He was literally sought out. Other kings and leaders of other countries and kingdoms would travel for months just to come and sit with King Solomon for a few minutes to get advice from him. That's how wise he was. That's how sought after he was. That's how much influence God gave him. He goes on to say, I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and by planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect the water, to irrigate my many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I also owned large herds of flocks, more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and of gold, the treasures of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I became greater than all who lived in Jerusalem before me. And my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless. Like chasing the wind, there was nothing real worthwhile anywhere. Wow. And he is obviously saying this. King Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes towards the end of his life. After he had already lived, done, acquired, built, spent, seen everything, every human pleasure that could be fulfilled, King Solomon fulfilled it during his reign. He goes on to say, so I decided to compare wisdom with foolishness and madness. For who can do this better than I, the king? I thought, wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. For the wise can see where they are going, but fools walk in the dark. Yet I saw that the wise and the foolish share the same fate. Interesting. Both will die. So I said to myself, since I will end up the same as the fool, what's the value of all my wisdom? This is also meaningless. For the wise and the foolish both die. The wise will not be remembered any longer than the fool. In the days to come, both will be forgotten. So I came to hate life, because everything done here under the sun is so troublesome. Everything is meaningless, like chasing the wind. I came to hate all my hard work here on earth, for I must leave to others everything I have earned. And who can tell whether my successors will be wise or foolish? Yet they will control everything I have gained by my skill and hard work under the sun. How meaningless! So I gave up in despair, questioning the value of all my hard work in this world. Some people work wisely, with knowledge and skill, then must leave the fruit of their efforts to someone who hasn't worked for it. This too is meaningless, a great tragedy. So what do people get in this life for all of their hard work and anxiety? Their days of labor are filled with pain and grief. Even at night their minds cannot rest. It is all so meaningless. So I decided there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink and to find satisfaction in work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God. For who can eat or enjoy anything apart from Him? God gives wisdom, knowledge, and joy to those who please Him. But if a sinner becomes wealthy, God takes a wealth away and gives it to those who please Him. This too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. There is a time to be born, there is a time to plant, and a time to harvest. A time to kill, and a time to heal. There is a time to tear down, and a time to build up. A time to cry, and a time to laugh. A time to grieve, and a time to dance. There is a time to scatter stones, and there is a time to gather stones. A time to embrace, a time to turn away, a time to search, and a time to quit searching, and a time to throw away, a time to keep, a time to tear, and a time to mend, a time to be quiet, and a time to speak. There is a time to love, and there is a time to hate. There is a time for war, and there is a time for peace. How beautiful. How absolutely beautiful. I believe every single human facet was covered right here in Ecclesiastes, starting it in chapter 3, verse 1, going all the way to verse 8. Every human facet was covered in those verses. He goes on to say, what do people really get for all of their hard work? I have seen the burden God has placed on us all. Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end. So I concluded there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy yourselves as long as we can. And people should eat, and people should drink, and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God. And I know that whatever God does is final. Nothing can be added to it or taken from it. God's purpose is that people should fear Him. There's that topic again, like I spoke in past videos. What is happening now has happened before, and what will happen in the future has happened before. Because God makes the same things happen over and over and over and over again. I added a couple of overs there, I'm sorry. I also noticed that under the sun there is evil in the courtroom. Yes, even the courts of law are corrupt. I said to myself, in due season God will judge everyone, both good and bad, for all their deeds. I also thought about the human condition, how God proves to people that they are like animals, for people and animals share the same fate. Both breathe and both must die. So people have no real advantage over the animals. How meaningless. Both go to the same place. They came from dust and they return to dust. For who can prove that the human spirit goes up and the spirit of animals goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for people than to be happy in their work. That is our lot in life, and no one can bring us back to see what happens after we die. Again, I observed all the oppression that takes place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed with no one to comfort them. The oppressors have great power, and their victims are helpless. So I concluded that the dead are better off than the living. But most fortunate of all are those who are not yet born, for they have not seen all the evil that is done under the sun. Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Fools, their idle hands leading them to ruin. And yet, better to have one handful with quietness than two handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It is all so meaningless and depressing. Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can help reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for triple braided cord is not easily broken. It is better to be a poor but a wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. Such a youth could rise from poverty and succeed. He might even become king, though he has been imprisoned. But then everyone rushes to the side of yet another youth who replaces him. Endless crowds stand around him. But then another generation grows up and rejects him. 2. It is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. I'm stopping here at verse 5. You can look at the book of Ecclesiastes two ways. You can read the book of Ecclesiastes and say, how depressing, right? How depressing it sounds to read these words and think that everything that I read up until chapter 5 is true. We get so involved in our own lives that we forget our Creator. And fulfillment and true meaning in life is only found in a life lived with and for Jesus Christ. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you may be one of those people that believes that whatever you believe is true, and that's what you live by, and that should be respected. And everybody has a right to think what they want to think and believe what they want to believe. And everybody has a choice to think what they want to think and believe what they want to believe. God does give us a choice. But He also gave us His Word and the truth of His Word to have life, to have eternal salvation in Him. There is no other truth. There is no other way. There is no other God. There is no other way of thinking. There is no other way to salvation other than Jesus Christ. There is none. The body you have now, the things you have now, the life that you've built, the people around you, are all going to one day be gone. And that day could be any day that you could be gone, or one of your closest people to you could be gone, whether it's a family member, whether it's a child. So I believe I'll continue with chapter 5 on another video, and hopefully this serves some of you that may not find the time to open the Bible, and maybe even if you don't watch, you can just let this play and listen to it. There's no more of an important endeavor than to seek, live for, learn, and live for Christ. There's not. Better to be a poor miserable rat that lives in a cardboard box than to have Christ in his heart and to eventually be taken away by even illness or sickness or just the conditions of his life, his or her life. Better to be that person on the streets that knows Christ and has Christ and lives for Christ than to be the person with the big, beautiful mansion on the hill that everyone knows and that everyone desires to be like, and that most people covet, to have the beautiful car, the beautiful family, to be admired, and to die without Christ. Better to be the poor rat on the street corner that knows Christ and has Christ than to be that person up on the hill. You can try and take that out of context if you want, and you can twist it around if you want in so many different ways, but at the end of the day, it's true. It's really true. God did create us to live for Him. God never promised an easy life. God promised salvation. That's what He did. Our God never promised an easy life for any one of us. He never promised a perfect life. He promised salvation. And that's a promise that He's keeping. Whether you believe it or not, He's keeping it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for sticking around sincerely. Thank you for supporting the channel, because it helps to get this message out to those who need to hear it. And that's everyone. That's not just certain people, certain skin colors, certain demographics. That's everyone. That's every beating heart, human beating heart in this world. So thank you for your support. If you would consider subscribing, liking and commenting. I know some people don't like to share, but at least subscribe, comment, and leave a like. It would really help to spread this message. And this is all for Him. This is all for Him. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I love you all in Christ, and see you all again soon. If you don't know Jesus, seek Him. If you know Jesus, hold your course.